Earl Henry Sholley is running for U.S. Congress for the 4th Congressional District. It's great to have you with us on Frank's TV.
Well, thank you, Phil. It's nice to be here.
What makes you qualified to run for Congress?
Well, I think that with my background in history and plant soil sciences, I've run a business for 25 years. I know what it means to balance a budget. I know what it means to get the job done. I know that at the end of the day, the buck stops here, and you're the last person that has to get the work accomplished. Sometimes that's the way it is. What I see right now in Congress is we have gridlock, we have too much arguing and bickering, partisan politics. I think Americans are turned off by that. They're fed up with it, and they want to see some action. And I'm definitely a man of action, so I think that makes me qualified. I'm a landscaper. It's a tough job, and there's a saying about only mad dogs, Englishmen, and landscapers out in the midday sun. So I'm a little like Harry Truman, Phil. Somebody once said to Harry, "Give them hell, Harry," and Harry responded by saying, "I just tell them the truth, and they think they're in hell."
What are your everyday constituents telling you as you're on the campaign trail? What are their most heart-to-heart concerns, and what do you find is the separation between reality and what's happening in D.C.?
Well, I think right now there are three things, Phil. Gas prices, and gas prices. And I think most people can't believe that Congress, with their environmental concerns, aren't doing anything about the current situation. It's already over $4 a gallon. People have been talking about $6. Some people have even said $10 we might see at some point. I think it's mostly a supply and demand problem. But look, the Congress should have done something about this 20 or 30 years ago. We should have had an energy policy in place a long time ago. Now, these are supposed to be bright people. And it seems to me that if you are smart and if you are intelligent, you will anticipate problems. Most businesses, and you yourself know that, Phil, you run a business, it's good to have a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan. You got to plan for the future. You just can't take it on a day-to-day basis. There are always unexpected problems, unexpected difficulties, things that you can't foresee. So you have to prepare for those. You have to have a reserve to take care of those problems. It just seems to me that it's a disgrace and it's irresponsible of the Congress not to have something in place. And now because of their concerns about global warming, which again I believe is just nothing but emotion and hysteria. Now, granted, we need to do something about air pollution. That is an issue, and especially in some of our larger cities. But I just believe that we're going through a warming period right now, and people are hurting. And they're not addressing it.
All right, let me address a few issues, and people watching will say, I'm going to vote for Earl Henry Sholley based on the answers that you give. Are you ready?
Okay. Go ahead.
What are you going to do about $4 plus price of gasoline?
Well, there are a number of things that we can do. First of all, I believe there's a refinery being built, first one in 35 years. We need to develop alternative sources of energy. We have plenty of product. We need to drill. We have plenty of oil and coal reserves in this country. We need to go to biofuels. We can turn coal into diesel and biodiesel.
Are you a nuclear fan or not?
I would include that as well. I think we have to run the full gamut. Nuclear power.
Are you in favor of perhaps giving back a tax rebate or some kind of a refund at the end of the year for working people?
That's something that I haven't really considered, but it's something that I would look at. I think we also need to develop diesel. Diesel is a lot more efficient. There was a time in this country that diesel fuel was cheaper than gasoline, and because of the environmentalists, again, who feel that it's a pollutant, and it's much worse than gasoline, but that's not true anymore. We've actually cleaned it up so that we have the technology now with the filtering and the other equipment that we've developed. Dow Corning is one of the leaders in that technology. We can put out a much cleaner product.
What would you do to help stabilize the illegal immigration problems in terms of the illegals are here? How would you, A, send them back, or keep them here, and B, take care of the problems that are arising as a result?
Well, we have to do something about illegal immigration.
What is your plan?
Well, my plan is I firmly believe that we should reward people for good behavior and we should penalize them for bad behavior. If people are breaking the laws, and look, we're a nation of immigrants. Most of unless you're Native American, your ancestors came here from somewhere else. But they came here legally. They were sponsored by somebody. They had to learn English. They had to obey the laws. What we're doing right now is we're balkanizing our country. And it's going to hurt this country in the long run. The ones who are here, I think we need to develop some sort of policy where they're going to have to pay some penalty, pay back into the system so they're not just taking from the system. I think we need to change some of the laws to make it less easy for a child who's born here in the United States to become an automatic American citizen. I really think we need to do that. I think English needs to become the official language of this country. I went into the Elections Division office up in Boston a few weeks ago, and I asked for voter registration cards in as many languages as they had, and they gave me cards that were in 8 languages, including Russian.
It's a sign of the times.
Well, it is a sign of the times, and it's actually a federal law. It's not a state mandate.
I know.
It's a federal mandate. If people can't speak English, if they don't have a basic knowledge of the language, why are they voting? They shouldn't be allowed to vote. But see, the Democrats are encouraging this. The Democrats want as many immigrants to come into this country.
Speaking of the Democrats, your opponent is Barney Frank. He is in favor of...
You had to remind me, Phil.
He's in favor of at least, reducing the penalties of marijuana. What are your views on that?
I think it's absolutely silly of Mr. Frank with this champagne taste with a beer budget. And, that's especially pronounced with the Congress. When you're spending somebody else's money, you just don't take care of it as well as you would if it were your own. And that's what we have here. And that's why I think it's important to get back to the local level. Let people at the local level, at the city and town level, deal with a lot of these problems. Let the federal government do what it's best at. But the farther you're removed from the people in the local community, when the bureaucrats get a hold of it, it becomes very inefficient. There's a lot of waste, mismanagement, and corruption.
How is the educational system in terms of the amount of money that we give towards it? And I know the federal government doesn't give all that much. It's mostly the state. But how would you rate the amount of money we put into the educational system with, do we get an A, a B, a C, a D, or an F on the other side of that dollar sign?
I would say, all in all, I would probably, just judging the system in Massachusetts, I would probably give it a C. See, I have this idea that schools should be temples of academic excellence. And they should be getting a good grounding in the basic subjects. Reading, writing, arithmetic, history. They should certainly learn about the history of their country. I would require a year of study of the Constitution of the United States and the Bill of Rights. Of course, I was a history major. I'm very fond of history, and history is important. It's an important teacher. And I think in Massachusetts, and I can't speak for other states, but in Massachusetts, the process has really become so propagandized with so many social experiments run amok that they're wasting so much time, talking about diversity. Well, my God, this is the most diverse country the world has ever seen. I mean, this is the melting pot. There are people who come here from so many different nations from around the globe. I mean, maybe that's why we have such a high divorce rate in America, because you have all these different ethnic groups and racial groups but it's worked. It's worked, and as long as the family is strong, I think it was your son who said that if you don't have a strong family, you're not going to have a strong country, because they're the core strength of any society. And what we're doing is we're passing laws and we're promoting policies that break up the family unit, encourages divorce, encourages in the welfare system, encourages fathers to be absent, it's the biggest social problem that we have. The governor just unveiled a new proposal for this wonderful educational program, 10-point plan. They want to get our kids earlier in kindergarten now. They want to propagandize them at an earlier age. It's not enough to get them in the first grade. And, but nobody really talks about the real issue and the reason why we have so many social problems in this country. And the number one social problem is fatherlessness. But nobody addresses that issue. We have too many young men growing up in this culture who don't have a father in their lives. They have no role model. They end up, many of them, especially in the poor communities, they end up, the only women that they see is their mother, the only, adult figure they see is their mother, a social worker, and usually a female teacher in the lower grades before they drop out. So they end up resenting women. They're not properly socialized by their fathers. They don't learn discipline. The mothers can't deal with them. They can't control with them. They end up resenting and hating women. And I think we need to start addressing that issue of fatherlessness. Again, I made a comment earlier that we need to start rewarding good behavior. We need to encourage good behavior. We need to encourage strong families, and we need to penalize bad behavior. Now, can we help people? Of course we can. We should help people if they need a leg up, if they're hurting. But we want to minimize that as much as possible. We don't want to make it a way of life, and that's what we've done in this country.
It's ironic that in the birthplace of democracy, we have a one-sided system here in Massachusetts. The genius of our republic was a two-party system, and in this state we have been reduced to a monolith, a brick wall. It's a sad irony. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, my thoughts about that, in fact, last night I spoke to a town committee on the South Shore of Boston, and Paleologos was there, and she was the grand dame of the Republican Party. And she disagreed with me, but I told her, I said, you know what?
To be on a diet, on a budget, why should we be the exceptions, we the people? Why shouldn't they in Washington also be required to be on that same kind of budgetary diet?
You're absolutely correct, Phil. I mean, every family, every businessman has to live within their means. If they don't, they end up losing their home. They end up filing for bankruptcy. It's financial and in many cases matrimonial anarchy, and they have serious problems. So most people have to live within their means. Many people, they have. I've talked to Mitt Romney about this and others, and it seems to me that the only way we're going to become a two-party system again is for the conservatives to take over the Republican Party in the state of Massachusetts. Because most people in this state, given a choice between voting for a liberal Democrat and a liberal Republican, they're going to pick the Democrat every time.
Do you think that the two-party system is a reality, or is this state so far gone in terms of democratic control that it's really just not a reality that it will ever turn around and become fair and balanced once again?
Well, you know what? That's a good question, Phil. And, there are a couple of dynamics here. I think right now, in talking with people are really disgusted. Almost every other week, you see some story about corruption in the newspaper. Whether it's abuse of sick leave time in Boston. You had this issue with Senator Marzulli recently. Just checked himself into a mental institution. And, it just seems like the details, people see the police on these details. We're the only state in the country that uses policemen exclusively. And it's become such an extensive gravy train in this state. So that is an issue because you have the people who are on the gravy train. That's how I like to put it. You have those who are on the gravy train and the rest of us who are supporting the gravy train. Well, the people supporting the gravy train are much greater in number, and I think they're finally getting to a point where they're fed up. They really are. And I think they're mad. I think they really are. And I think we're going to see some changes in this state. But, we have to have a good party apparatus in this state to help bring that about. I remember standing on a street corner with Mitt Romney in North Attleboro before he came in, when he came in to run for governor, before he was elected. And I said to him, Mitt, I hope you're going to do something to strengthen the Republican Party in this state. And he looked at me right in the eye and he said, "It is a woeful situation, isn't it?" Well, he tried to do a little bit his first 2 years. They recruited some candidates, but it wasn't an extensive effort. It really wasn't. Then he got involved with running for president. So, this is the way it's been for a long time. And, we need to organize. We need to get good state committee people. We need to make sure that most people are on the same page. I just think in this state we have too many Rockefeller Country Club type Republicans, and I think we need, this big tent concept that Bill Weld used to promulgate. I just don't agree with it. Sure, should you be tolerant of other people? Absolutely. But I think that as a party, you need to have a strong platform, and you need to have ideals, and you need to stick to it.
What attracts the everyday working American living in Massachusetts to the ideals and the values of the Republican Party, in your opinion?
Well, I think if you go by the platform, we have a lot of conservative beliefs, both fiscally and socially, and I think one of those, and of course we've gotten away from it, the party has strayed from this in recent years because the Republicans in Washington are spending money like drunken sailors, just like the Democrats. But we need to get back to that platform of fiscal responsibility. We need to start taking a stronger stand on some of these social issues.
For instance?
Well, I believe it's important to push the Defense of Marriage Act. I believe that marriage is between a man and a woman, and I believe it's important to have a strong family unit. I talked about that earlier, and I think it diminishes the value of the institution of marriage by having an equivalent of so-called gay marriage or even civil unions. I don't believe in that at all.
The last question is, we thank you for a very interesting insight into your thinking, is, as a history lover, if you were to write a book about the condition of the state in Massachusetts today, what would the title of that book be, by Earl Henry Sholley?
I think it would be titled "The Age of Emotion and Hysteria."
Thank you so very much for joining us on FrankTV.com.
It was my pleasure. Thank you, sir.